Hey, so the last video, I only get 15 minutes for video increments, got cut off, I believe, so I'm not quite sure where I ended on this middle graph. So the main thing is when we only have a few points, like on this one, what has to happen is you have to know the shape. So what I was saying is, up here, you've got this kind of curved area here that I highlighted in green. And then what happens from there is the shape kind of grows both directions, or goes up or goes down, pretty steep. So you have this curved kind of flat area, and then it goes up pretty steep and down pretty steep. So just know your two shapes, know these points, and now let's start graphing everything. All right, so I have flipped the page, and I'm just on the next page, and let's remind ourselves of our jobs from A, H, and K. It doesn't matter if I reference the quadratic one on the left or the cubic one on the right. I think I'll just use the cubic one on the right. I tend to have a little more room there. So a reminder, if you see a negative, that negative means it's going to flip. It's called a vertical reflection. The A value is going to be our stretch. Lost my T in there. And our compress. Our H, remember, we're going to do the opposite. And that will tell us to move left or right. And then our K value, will leave it as it is, and that will tell us to go up or down. So we're about to start graphing. And what I want you to notice is, one point that didn't change when we did our stretch or compress was this point right here. Let me get a different color. Still stayed 0, 0, and this point still stayed 0, 0. That can be referred to as our reference point, kind of the point that gets us going, kind of refer to all the other points. So anyway, let's start graphing with A, H, and K. So first, just what's the shape of your function? Are you graphing a quadratic? Is it a U shape? Or is it a cubic, kind of like a steep, curvy line? The next thing I will expect you to do is identify all the transformations. So you'll have to tell me if it goes left, right, if it flips, etc. We're going to make our table. Again, that is your job to have these values memorized. And then after we do our table, we will build in our stretch, our compress, and our flip, just like we did here on these three. And once we get that done, then what we can do is, with the numbers from our table, is we can just take those points and then move things left or right. So, and then up or down. So hence the vertical or horizontal transformations. So let's start with this one. The first thing I want to do is just, what's the shape? I notice that there's a little 2 there. So it's going to be a quadratic. I also see a negative here. So that means my shape is going to be a U shape, a parabola that's just been flipped upside down. So what are the transformations? So this negative is going to flip it. I'm not going to write these all out. The 2 is in our house. This time our house are parentheses. I'm going to take the opposite and think -2, which means it's going to go left 2. And then this 4 I'll leave as is, and it will mean to go up 4. So we have a flip, left 2, up 4. All right, now we're going to go to step 3. We're going to create our table. So the numbers you have to memorize is for either quadratic or cubic. These will be our x's. And then to get the y's, we will just take those values and, using our parent function, square those. So here's -2 squared, -1 squared, 0 squared, etc. All right, we've created the table from here up here in step 3. And now I'm going to build in my stretch, compress, and flip into the table. So I'm about to take this -2 right here, and I'm going to apply it over here in my table. So I'm going to take all of these y values, so they're supposed to be negative signs. Again, I don't know what is going on with my pen. Everything's kind of running together. And you can think of it as a -1, or an opposite symbol, but they're all going to turn opposite. So 4 is now -4, 1 is now -1, 0, our reference point, still stays 0. and here are the other ones. I, once again, highly suggest you, once you have new y values, lightly cross out the old y values because you have new y values. So what I'm going to do is, basically over here I have -2, -4. But that point won't be staying there because now I have step 4 up here. I'm going to take that point and I'm about to move it left 2, up 4, which is what I said I would now do. So that point, I'm going to switch colors, won't stay there for very long. It's going to go left 2 and up 4. And when it does, it ends up right here instead. And now I don't need that one. And then I can go to -1, -1. So this is where it starts, but it's not going to stay there. That one is also going to go left 2, up 4. So if I just count over 2 and then up 4, it ends up right there. And then now what I'm going to do is not show you the original point in blue. I'm just going to imagine where 0, 0 is and go left 2, up 4. So that puts me right here. And then I'll get the other points. And the more you graph, the faster you get at it. So this is my whole shape now. It's all I need. I'm going to connect my U. And then for a good review, in case you need to redo ICANN number 1, or we spiral this in again later, let's answer the stuff on the right. So I want to mark my important points. So this arrow is left and down, and this arrow is right and down. This is where it turns. And then where it hits the x-axis, and then I can answer my question. So where is it decreasing? So it's decreasing in this right here. So I want to put the x value where it starts, which is 0, and the x value where it ends, and increasing and decreasing is always parentheses. And then I want the positive areas, so positive where the y values are positive. That's right here. I'm highlighting it in yellow. It's going to overlap on the green. And I want to put the x value where that starts, which is -4, and the x value where it ends is 0 with parentheses. And then I want the range, so I'm using my scan now. I'm scanning the y, so I want to start at the bottom, and when I do that, I get, this is my smallest y, and then scan to the top, and then the 4 is my biggest y. So I'll go from -infinity to 4. And is it 1-to-1? No. A parabola or a quadratic will never be 1-to-1. It will always fail the HLT. So let's try a few more. So let's do another quadratic. So moving down to the bottom, that's going to be over here on the right. So again, those x values that you need to know. If I square those values, this is what I get. And now I want to take a look at my transformations. So this negative means it's going to flip. The 2, since it's bigger than 1, is going to stretch. This 3, I want to take the opposite of. So I want to think, or the -3, I want to take the opposite of. So I want to think 3, and that will mean to go right 3. And then the number it's missing at the end, if I want to add a number, excuse me, I could add 0. But it's not going to go up or down. It's just going to go right 3. So if you really want to add that and then see the 0, you can, but I'm not going to do that. All right. So what's the shape? It is a quadratic. That means it's going to be a U shape. It will be flipping. So this is my shape. And now what I'm going to do is take my y values and have my flip, stretch, compress. This time it just happens to only be a 2. Or sorry, -2, and that -2 is going to change all these y values. So I'm about to take all these y values and multiply them by -2. And that turns these numbers into -8, -2, 0, -2, -8. I don't need the old y values. I want what I'm going to consider my new y values. So I can go now to -2, -8. But that point will not be staying there. It will now move right 3. And after it moves right 3, I'm just counting over on my graph paper 3 spots. It ends up right there, that blue point. And then I can do all the other points. So again, I can go to -1, -2. So right there, and then move it right 3. So there's 1, 2, 3, and that point ends there. Here's 0, 0. And then just getting all my other points. Again, the more you graph, you'll start to find some quicker ways to graph. And then I can connect them, and there's my U-shape. When we graph, I do expect as many points as you can possibly put on there. So our goal is to get 5, but I guess we'll see. All right, let's do a cubic one. So this time I'm switching the shape. So because it is cubic, the shape kind of goes like this, very steep but curvy line. All right, the x values will still be the same. That doesn't change. But now I'm going to cube the numbers, and just the more you write these down, the better you get at that. I'm just cubing -2 and -1, 0, 1, and 2. Let's talk about our transformations. So the 2 is going to stretch it. The -1, I'll take the opposite, think 1, so right 1, and now I'll have some points also go up 2. So I take my stretch, and it's going to apply right here to my y values. So I'm going to take all these y values and multiply them by 2. And that turns it into 16, -16, sorry, -2, 0, 2, and 16. I do not need the old y values, crossing them off. Instead, I want those new y values. So -2, -16, 2, 16 are not going to fit on the graph. I'll just focus on the ones that do. So right now I could go to -1, -2, which is right there, but it won't stay there. It's going to go right 1 and up 2 and actually end right there. And then I'll do the same for my other points. So I'll take 0, 0, it'll go right 2, or sorry, right 1 and up 2. And then I'll go to my 1, 2, and go right 1, up 2. So that's not a lot of points. You have to know the shape. So it's kind of steep, then we got our more flatter area. But it's definitely skinnier or straighter than the parent function. All right, let's try one more with cubic. And then if you feel ready to go, you can go ahead and start the practice. If you want a few more to practice, I'll make another video that walks us through those, but otherwise I'm just going to do this last one. All right, so what's the shape going to be? It's cubic. It will be flipping. So instead of going up from left to right, it's actually going to go down like this is our ultimate shape, but just know it's a steep line. What are our transformations? We're going to flip. The 2, because it's bigger one, is going to stretch. I'm going to take the opposite of -3 and get 3, and that will go right 3, and then I'll go down -2, which will mean down 2. Make my table. I'll use the space over here. So again, always the same x values. If I cube them, and now what I'll do is take this flip and stretch and apply it to over here. So all of these are going to get multiplied by -2. And that turns it into 16, 2. My reference point never changes, 0, 0. The only thing that's going to change that kind of reference point is a left, right, up, down, -2, -16. Crossing out the old y's. I don't need them because I got new y's. And now graph my points. The 16s won't fit on there, so I'm going to go -1, 2, and I'm going to move it right 3 and up 2. So by the time I do that, excuse me. Oh, sorry. I said right 3 up 2. It's right 3 down 2. I'm going to end up right here. I'm just going to do all my points. Here's my 0, 0 after it moves right 3 up 2. And then my last point. And then again, if I know the shape, here we go. All right, I am going to go over this, but I'm going to do this in the next video. So this is good spiraling because this is not going away. But if you feel ready, you can go ahead and move on. Otherwise, I'll cover that and these two, and you can get started on the practice or just watch the next video. It's up to you.